Project updates then?
No, still nothing from me. I'm not taking on any new ones at the moment, so I can't make news for this section.
No, it's good, but I find it highly amusing. I wait with bated breath for you to say. Right,
I'm quite proud of it, to be honest.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Morning. How are you this week? I need a few minutes to regather my thoughts because I've prepared everything else except I've just realised I've missed out the what's happened this week section.
Well, I do have, for the benefit of the listener, the first thing it says on our podcast sheet is one thing about your week could include mini rant of the week. Yeah. I have 6 things about my week this week to say.
Oh, well, you crack on then, and I'll gather my thoughts.
Well, I want you to listen. I can't have you gathering your thoughts, so why don't we just press pause and you write it, and I'll wait. I want you to listen to my 6 things, not multitask.
Okay. All right. Greece.
You've gone back to Greece, basically, haven't you?
No, yeah, party, and what else has happened? Oh, yeah, that. New business. Okay. I'm done. There we go.
Marvellous. Off you go then.
Oh, me? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm back in Greece, as you know. Travel back on Sunday. Yep. And the party season's in full swing here. So we had a clash of events on Tuesday. Reading club and Pat and Mike's housewarming into their new house. So we rearranged reading club to Thursday and went to Pat and Mike's housewarming, where it all was very nice in the afternoon, lovely sunshine. And then, as people had a few vinos, it got a bit livelier and we started dancing. And we'd interviewed a poet for Right Club, the podcast, a little while before, and a few weeks before. And we ended up having a right old dance off to him to Earth, with him and his 2 friends, to Earth, Wind and Fire, and there were other people involved, up to the age of 72, by the way, dancing. The funniest bit was when Wuthering Heights came on and Sarah decided to interpret it through the medium of expressive dance. And Neil, the poet,
does that mean waving her arms like a wind? I wondered what that meant yesterday on Facebook. What did it mean? What was she doing?
When you improvise ballet.
Oh, I know what it means. Yes, but what was she doing? What were her movements?
Oh,
was it like Kate? Was it like Kate Bush's original?
Very Kate Bush-like, yes, and it consisted of bellowing the song along at the same time, and Neil
bellowing. Okay,
yeah, and Neil and his 2 mates joined in as well. It was absolutely hilarious. So that was a good night. We finally staggered home at 1:30 through the olive groves, only to be woken up the next morning by the Right Club ladies. I thought I was going to have to just get up and go up the hill to a new recording session of the next 5 episodes. But it turns out that the gent next door is having his windows replaced, so it was impossible to record there. So they all ended up turning up at my house very unexpectedly. So that was.
Now I'm confused because the party was on Tuesday and Right Club was rescheduled to Thursday, but they all turned up on a Wednesday.
No, you're a bit confused between my writing club and my reading club. Reading club was the one that was rescheduled.
Yes, okay, yeah. yes, I am confused between the 2 art clubs, correct.
And Right Club, we batch record our episodes 5 at a time, and yesterday was the day. Yeah. We have sworn since that, nobody's allowed to have parties the day before Right Club recording days in future, but we pressed on regardless. And one of the husbands brought us all lunch because we were going to be at Heather and Roy's house, and Roy was cooking, and he's a really gifted chef. He brought it all down to our house instead in Tupperware containers and things, and we had an absolutely delicious bread. Let me try and turn that off somehow.
Yeah. Where's the shop where you get men like that?
Well, I don't know. They're few and far between, really. He also lets her have every Tuesday for a writing day, and he keeps her supplied with beverages, food, anything she needs, so she doesn't get interrupted and she just has the whole day free to write.
You don't mean he lets her, you mean she negotiated?
Well, difficult words to use, really, aren't they? Yes.
They are, but I mean, you took away from Roy when you said he lets her do something, but
Yeah,
I think Roy's nicer.
Yeah, probably, yes. But it does seem to be a thing out here that the more elderly husband, and not that Roy he's one of the more younger, sprightly ones. It seems to be that a lot of the more elderly husbands have first call on their wives' time, which is probably an age thing, isn't it? An era thing, I should say, rather than an age thing. And a lot of the ladies end up superseding their wishes to their husbands. And Roy has very generously, within that context, gifted Heather a whole day a week.
Oh, we could make a whole episode on this. I feel quite politically charged by this whole conversation. Roy lets her have Tuesdays off from their marriage. Oh, great.
I know.
That's why he's still married in his... How old are they?
They've been married for years, so they must be coming up to a 50th wedding anniversary. There's lots of 50th wedding anniversaries.
I do know what you mean. I do know what you mean by men. I don't want to make any generalisations here, but I have experienced, both first-hand and observed, of men
just
sometimes being quite childlike.
Yes, childlike.
Yes, childlike. Yeah, in their expectations of coming first, or and not even coming first equal, actually. Well, I know so many men who make it first equal, so I don't want to get drawn into that, but interesting.
Yes, it is very interesting.
What else?
Especially as someone who hasn't got any calls all the time once I'm out here. When I go home, obviously the children have the first call all the time, but
yes,
I think one chooses to allow other people to have first call on one's time, and unless one is aware of it and puts boundaries in place and protects against it, then it could become a challenge. I can see that. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Yes, moving swiftly along. What else?
5 episodes. I'm fiercely trying to resist a new business idea that has occurred, and which was fueled rather by Kim when I had dinner with Kim, and she gave me one bit of information that made the whole business idea suddenly all click into place. And I'm trying to ignore that.
Yep. Okay.
So that's it. That's my week, really.
Okay. Well, I've got rather a lot of things here, but literally they're all quite short. When we were talking last Thursday morning, as is our wont, I managed to accidentally send out my Friday newsletter on a Thursday. And the newsletter was entitled Weirdo. And I'd just been telling you about a weirdo. And when I hung up from you, there it was in my inbox. Like, what? It was, if you remember, I told you it was a very busy day. It started at 9:30 in the morning. It was going to go on until 8:30 at night. And what that meant was 1,000 people wrote to tell me that I was weirder than I knew because the newsletter had arrived on the wrong day, and how appropriate it was that it was called Weirdo, and lovely people having a laugh at me on the busiest day of my week when I was already working flat out, and it was all really quite funny, really. But and Veronica Pullen asked me to check, did it make any difference at all to the stats? I can report none. So Thursday, Friday, doesn't really matter when it comes. Now, I forgot to tell you last week, not you, because I sent you a link, but I forgot to tell the listener last week that I did find out what happens in women's sheds, because 2 episodes ago you sent me off to research that, and I can report that what women do in sheds is hand and machine sewing, knitting and crochet, spinning and weaving, jewellery making, candle making, patchwork, basic carpentry and car maintenance. But more important, this voluntary space will also, you can take part in basic life trades and other activities. If you've got any projects you can ask them about it, and they'll try and accommodate your needs. I mean, God, how genius is that?
Yeah, marvellous, yeah. So
you could go in and say, I'd like to learn bridge, I imagine, and they'd whiz off and find somebody to teach you how to do it.
Marvellous. Have you got any ideas for anything you might like to join?
No, I'm hoping not to be here long enough. Now, let me keep going because I've got 6 here. Don't interrupt my flow. I did manage to submit my 100 words on the topic of starting over again in business. I'm not really convinced my promo idea, but it's all I had, so I went with it, and they seemed happy about that. On Friday, I did something I haven't done for a very, 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 very long time, because I've had a home visiting hairdresser for the last year in Kent, and a home visiting hairdresser for most of the years I lived in London. And I don't really like going to the hairdressers because you have to sit in the chair and look at yourself for an hour, which is quite difficult.
And chat.
So I sourced a new hairdresser, and there are lots in this town. So you're kind of sticking a pin in a map. I don't know what that expression is, where you stick a pin in a page, to decide which one you're going to go. And I went to one called Little Studio, the Little Salon, something like that. And when I went in, a very unsatisfactory thing happened, which is the lady came over and said she was running 20 minutes behind. Well, Nicola, you know how much I love lateness.
Yeah.
So I had to sit in a chair, and it was clearly Foil Friday because every other woman in the place had her hair in foils. And when I eventually got in the chair, the woman explained to me that when somebody makes an appointment for highlights, you don't know whether they've got thick hair, thin hair, long hair or short hair. So you don't really know how to plan for a foils appointment, although it did seem to be workarounds. Anyway, I can happily report, yes, quite. I can happily report that I've had a slightly funkier haircut, and it cost me the princely sum of £18, which as a Londoner, I didn't even know was possible. You could get a haircut for £18. So not even a nice haircut for £18. You know what I mean?
And it's slightly funky and nice. I can't wait to see this. So,
well, I'm slightly worried. She took one look at me in all the whiteness and thought old age pensioner and gave me some rate that I didn't know I was even entitled to have. Surely it must be OAP rate on a Friday at 18 quid. I don't know. Can you cut hair for £18? Don't know.
Well, usually in small towns, a cut and colour would come to between 40 and 60. So the cut.
Well, somebody next to me who'd had foils was forking over handfuls of £20 notes.
Well, of course she was, because foils are very fiddly and intense. Did you get a blow dry?
No.
Right. Okay. So there you go.
Well, she got the hairdryer. She got the hairdryer and the small roly brush out. But I'd already said to her on the phone, She said a cut and blow dry. I said, I don't really need a blow dry. I haven't got very much hair. It's very thin, very fine. The haircut's very short, and normally the heat of my head does that. And literally, the hair drying, if there was any, took 30 seconds or something.
Well, there you go. You saved on the blow dry, and she saved on the 15 minutes it would have taken her to do it. So that's why.
Yeah, and so maybe I helped her. Yeah, maybe I helped her catch up on her day. Anyway, then on Sunday, I drove 200 miles in a round trip past Stonehenge twice to spend the day with my oldest school friend, Leslie, who lives outside Oxfordshire. And I realised in the car on the way home doing mental arithmetic with one of my hands on one of my knees that I've known her for 52 years. I broke my fear of the awful A303, which was pretty empty when I set off early in the sunshine. And when I came home past it that evening, it was silhouetted against the night sky where the sun had just gone down and it was still blue. So it was all really rather kind of magical and druid-like, which was quite fun. When I got in, I said to my host, whose birthday was the next day, I've realised I've known Leslie for 52 years. I said, I don't think you're even 52 years old, are you? She said, no, I'm 51 tomorrow. So on Monday, we celebrated the fact that she's not been alive as long as Leslie and I have been friends. And I asked her what she wanted to do for her birthday. And she picked her 3 favourite things in the world. And remember here, please, that it was her birthday, not mine. She wanted spag bowl and vanilla ice cream, and I'm with her so far because that's often what I have for Christmas Day when I'm alone in St. Martin. But she also wanted to watch a film she'd seen before, and it was launch day. So the film that she liked was being launched on her birthday, and Amazon do this great thing where you can order it and it's actually delivered on launch day, so they don't have to wait to get stocks. They organise their stocks so that it's delivered to your house on launch day, which was also her birthday, which was rather fun. But the slightly tragic thing about it was that her birthday choice of movie was The Greatest Showman. Have you seen The Greatest Showman?
I haven't, and I don't want to.
No. Which it says here, I wasn't in the least bit impressed by. Sorry, because I know a lot of people listening will have enjoyed it a lot, and she slightly misled me that it was by Baz Luhrmann, which it wasn't. Now, I did enjoy the odd song, and there's a very lovely romantic trapeze dancing scene with Zac Efron, who can sing, and Zendaya, who could also sing. But the anthem song, This Is Me, has been number 1 for 15 weeks in the UK and done at least as well elsewhere in the world. Imagine that.
I did watch the video of the recording of that song with the
bearded lady.
Yeah, and I did find it very moving as she got more and more into it, and everyone in the room felt it more and more. And I thought that was absolutely marvellous. But it still isn't enough to make me want to watch I don't like circuses much.
Well,
I don't like musicals much.
You're right. We both sat there and said, I don't like circuses much. And she said, I don't like them either. And I said, in all my life, they've been on the Common and we never go. No, we never go. So we had a conversation about that. Emma said halfway through the film, I think I might have to, in that song, I think I might make this my anthem. And one of my clients has said, I think I might make this my anthem. And I can see why women would say that, and it is a Me Too song as well, really, as something else I'm going to tell you about later. But I can see why people feel that. I didn't feel that. And I don't think I was being hard of heart. I think it's the stage of life I'm at. I can maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago, it might have moved me more. I don't know. But anyway, so that's my 6th thing. So quite a busy social week in a funny sort of way, and quite time consuming. I haven't told you about one of them yet, but all day away on Sunday from 9 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And then something else put me all on behind, Nicola.
I've only got one question for you out of all of that. Will you be returning to the little salon?
I might, yes.
She's almost redeemed herself from the 20-minute late start.
Oh, by the performance, yes. And I wasn't too insulted by the things that she said about her mother having grey hair and not very much of it either. For some time, I've been in discussion with hairdressers about whether I could make my salt and pepper bits match my silver bits, which I like best, so that I have hair like Judi Dench or Helen Mirren, all white. And all the other ones have gone, oh, it doesn't work very well, you've got to bleach the grey bits. And this woman said, yes. And we looked at pictures together. So I think we could get along, this woman and I. Fortunately, she didn't ask me what I did for a living or if I'd been on my holidays yet, and it was all very satisfactory, really.
I particularly like having a Greek hairdresser who does speak English but doesn't speak it very often, so I just get to sit and mind my own business and listen to
which is wonderful. That's all you want. Maybe we should write a blog post about that. All I want at the hairdressers is to be able to sit quietly and mind my own business. And of course it may not be. Maybe some women want to chat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so what's fueled your fire this week then?
Well, I've had a little rash of new incoming clients. Took on one on Monday and I'm inducting another one later today. And one client left and we both thought it was making way for a new member, which is exactly what turned out to happen. But what I want to tell you about is one of my new clients this week is the first to make PayPal credit work. And I keep recommending this to my clients when they're about to become clients, and also my clients as a way of selling their services, because PayPal credit means that they can borrow money from PayPal, not take installments from me. And all I had to do to make it happen was the buy now button on my sales page predated PayPal credit, so that when she clicked on it, it didn't offer her PayPal credit as a choice. So I had to go in, make some new 2018 buttons, put them on the sales page, and it did offer her a choice of PayPal credit. And her money came through straight away. So it meant that I could have a new client that didn't have to find a year in advance in their fees.
That's very interesting.
I know.
Very important.
I know, and I've been banging on about it for months, but since nobody took me up on it, I didn't have a real live experience of it happening.
So is this the same thing where PayPal keep offering me capital credit?
No, it's the other side of it, but I've borrowed that capital from PayPal and paid it back twice. It's very useful.
Have you indeed?
Yes, I have.
They take it back in pre-agreed amounts from your income.
They do.
That comes in. Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yes. So 5, 10, 20, 33, whatever you agree should go from every. And of course, they know your track record. So you don't have to put yourself through what you have to put through at the bank. They help themselves to your money instantly it arrives, so you can't even spend it. I've done it twice.
But at a pre-agreed rate?
Yes, but it is very expensive money, that's what I would say.
Okay, yes. What sort of APR are we talking?
I can't remember, but relative, you could borrow money. Well, some people listening to us could borrow money more cheaply.
Yes, absolutely. Well, yes, that's very interesting. Oh well, I'm gonna investigate that then, because
it's the other side of that coin actually, and I think it's cheaper. And what it might mean is if you or me or anybody wanted to buy something where the the seller offered PayPal credit, we could, instead of borrowing money relatively expensively from PayPal, we could take advantage of PayPal credit as a buyer, which is, I think, quite affordable. I think even possibly interest-free if you repay it within a short window.
Yes, I think it is interest-free.
Yes, I think it is. Not forever. So if you take a reasonable time or a long time to repay it, it's not interest-free. But if you repay it in a short window, I think it is interest-free.
I think it's 6 months. I seem to recall seeing something about 6 months interest-free.
Yeah, and I've got 3 in my mind, but somewhere between 3 and 6 months is not bad, is it?
No, not at all. No, that's very interesting. I'm going to go and check my sales page and make sure that's very highlighted.
Yes, quite. And your fire?
Right, I've been reading the book. I've been trying to plough through my reading book which is Half a Yellow Sun, the one set in Biafra. And it's working up to, what caused the whole Biafra crisis, really. And the issue I've got is that it doesn't stick with one point of view. It's throwing up for me as a writer how disorientating it is when you move through perhaps 5 or 6 points of view. So you're telling the story from different people's point of view. I'm only actually interested in one character in this book, and it's a little boy who's sent to be a houseboy just at the beginning of the crisis, and he's the only one I'm interested in. So the minute it shifts to someone else's point of view, I don't want to know anymore. So I'm struggling with that. But in the meantime, so that's making me look for something else to read. So I started reading on the plane the book I told you about last week, which was Playing to Win by A.G. Lafferty.
Yeah.
And
yes,
it's all about how to create a strategy for a business. And the reason I like it, Judith, is because it's got another simple mental model. Remember we talked about mental models the other week?
I do.
And it's basically 5 boxes. The whole book is around, it's around elaborating on each of the 5 boxes. And the 5 boxes are creating a strategy for your business that all feed into one another. So it's a living, breathing kind of thing that would work alongside very nicely the traction model. The traction model where you set your goals and then you work out what you're going to do in each quarter and then what you're going to do in each week, each month, each week. So this comes before traction, if you like. And the other reason I'm really enjoying it is because it talks about playing to win, not just playing to exist or survive. So it makes you think a little bit harder about, okay, so what would it take to win in this particular part of the business? And the 5 boxes are, you have to decide on a winning aspiration, and that's usually about people rather than money. So, you're apparently much more likely to choose a winning aspiration if it's around helping people. And then the next decision you make is, where will we play? Now, that means geographically, it means demographically, it means, country, it means which marketplace, which segment of the population. So all the, where will we play? And then how will we win? So what will make a winning offer here? What will make your product stand out from the crowd? What will make you different? And the next decision are, what capabilities will we need to be able to win on that playing field? So have we got the capabilities, the capacity, to fulfill? Have we got the elements we need to create a winning product? Have we got, all the stuff about, if you're making a physical product? Or if you've got, say an info product, do we have the integrity? Do we have the authority? The sort of intangibles. And the final question is, what management systems do we need in order to win on this particular playing field? And I just really enjoy the way it's simplified, but then it expands out and talks a bit more about each one. And they tell a lot of stories about Procter and Gamble and Olay. Remember when Oil of Olay went to Olay? We always used to call it Oil of Ulay.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So
they called itself Oil of Ulay, didn't it?
Yes, and it was about about how Procter and Gamble ended up buying one little division, and they ended up in the luxury perfume market, which was something they'd never done before. They'd always done sort of household care products, and about how they pivoted that part of their business and spun it off into a different independent company, so that that company could just focus on their winning aspirations, where they're going to play, how will they win, and ended up creating a massively profitable division for the company, which they thought was going to be a bit of a lame duck at first. And it's just really well written. I really like it. It fits really nicely into my series of little mental models I use with clients, and it comes before them and helping people make choices, because there's so often people go, I want to serve everyone, I my customers are everywhere. And that's not how you win. You win by making decisions and testing your strategies. It's a little bit like the what's it called? Getting to Plan B, where you test, you make a decision, you decide on a marketplace and a product, you test your assumptions and you iterate from there. So it comes slightly before that. So it fits in very nicely in my mental models I use. I like it.
And I'm glad you've brought something to today's show about business, because I haven't brought a single thing to today's show about business.
Well, I actually shared the podcast with someone yesterday, Linda, who's one of our Right Club ladies. She wanted some podcasts to listen to, and I said, well, have a listen to us. It's a little bit about business, but I think you'll enjoy Judith very much, because she's American and you're very British, so I think she'll like that. I said, we used to talk about business, but not so much anymore. So now we're going to go into an interview. And have you got a few words to say about our interviewee today?
Yes, not an interviewee, a guest. Remember, we didn't interview these people. And it's Cristina Palma, who is going to talk to us about social changers and professional volunteers who pay to do up to 3 months in a voluntary post, learning something useful for themselves while contributing to the social change project. She gave us several examples, and you gave us one too, and the gentle listener can hear those now as we listen to Cristina. Welcome to our first guest on the podcast, Cristina Palma.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's really a pleasure. My name is Cristina Palma, but I like to call myself a life creativist. I am a coach, a writer, a painter, an innovator, a digital nomad, an expert, and a social changer. So many things in one person. I come from Chile. I have lived in Australia for 20 years, and now I'm actually in Bulgaria, but I have been living in many countries over the last 20 years. And my work is particularly focus on working with social changes. I didn't intend to do this when I started to actually become a professional coach, but because of my passion and my work experience and my life experience, these are the clients I started to attract to me, but also the ones that really tick me when I'm working. So especially in the last 2-3 years, I have been working a lot with social entrepreneurs, also with master students or PhD students that are working for international. They are starting to be working in international development because this is one of my expertise also. And anyone really who wants to actually make a shift from a job that they are doing, that they are okay with it, but they want to find something more meaningful in their career path. And that has been my focus in the last 5 years as a professional coach.
Okay. I hope you're going to say more about social changers, are you, Cristina? What are you going to talk to us about?
Yes. So, I want to talk about social changes because it is a topic that is very broad, a title, I would say, very broad. And so I want to mention why and who are they and where are they. So social changes is anyone really who wants to make a difference in the world. I particularly have as a motto in my life, since I'm 14 years old, that whatever I do, I have to do it to overcome poverty in the world. As the years have passed, I have changed also, not changed, but I have been refining this motto in the sense that before it was all poverty, financial poverty. But over the years, I also discovered that the biggest poverty that we can live with is the one from the soul. And if we cannot make a change in our own life, how can we make a change in the world? Okay. Social changer is anyone who wants to make a difference in the world, from the family that wants to recycle in the house because they know that this is affecting the environment, to the actually modern revolutionary that is challenging the status quo of this society. So particularly, I have been working with people that are, they work with they have a social issue that they want to impact, they want to change, or they want to contribute, but they are using a business model. And this also has been an interesting journey for me because I used to work in NGOs and the community sector, and I always felt that there was something missing in this, and it's the self-sustainability. And in this sector, in the NGO and the charity, where there is a lot of dependency on others to actually keep going, a lot of dependency on funding, government funding, and so on. And what I like of social entrepreneurship is that you have to create a model that is self-sustainable. So you make money from what you're doing, but at the same time, you are doing is to make an impact and a change in the world for the better, for the best.
And can you give us an example, Cristina? Have you got an example or two you can tell us about?
So I'll give you the example that I have been currently working in India. I was 3 months in India. I work with Anna Moran, who is actually English, but she set up a social entrepreneurship business by creating professional volunteering. It's like a professional placement. So she's been working in India for 5 years now, and she found and identified the organizations or the companies that they are looking to have a professional that can help them to expand on their impact that they have. For example, there is it's not a school, it's an organization that overlooks 160 schools in India. And they are making a huge impact because they are working with the students that have no financial resources and teachers that have no financial resources, because funny enough, in India, you can be a teacher without studying to be a teacher. So they are educating these teachers. They are actually giving opportunities to these children. At the same time, they have to generate their own income to keep the organization going. And they, for example, they are working with a coach who is helping them to structure the organization, to get the teachers to be more confident in the classroom, to actually create a new model of education that is not about based on punishment or shame, but is actually an encouragement and taking all the best and the beauty of the students, and so on. So that's one of them. There is another client that I have is that he is actually an umbrella business for a small business and medium to big size business also. I mean, he's moving to medium to big size business now that are creating a product that is benefiting a particular community. I'm going to give you the one from Tom Shoes. I don't know if you have heard about Tom Shoes.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Not Yeah. I haven't. Tell us a bit.
Okay, so Tom Shoes, it's actually from the States, and he actually went to Argentina in his traveling, and when he was there, he realized that many children didn't have shoes, and because they didn't have shoes, they did have this illness in their feet. So he went back to the States and he said, I really want to do something different. He was coming from the private sector, and he said, I'm going to create shoes. But he needed to make the business a sustainable business, right? It wasn't an NGO, it wasn't a foundation, it was a business. So what he did, you actually create, they are beautiful shoes. I buy them from time to time. And every time that you buy a pair of shoes, which are very good quality, and they are the price that you would pay for a normal pair of shoes, he actually provides one pair of shoes to those children in Argentina, and now he's in another place okay. In other countries in the world.
Okay, I get it. Yep.
You get it? So see, he has the business model, but at the same time, he's making this social impact. And with the pair of shoes, he's also creating schools and working with the children. So it goes beyond just them providing the pair of shoes.
Yes.
Right? So I think that's a very good one, very good example of.
Another thing that I heard of through you is called Pencils of Promise. Does that work in the same way?
Yeah, so Pencils of Promise, it's similar. The only difference is that he started with kind of NGO model in the sense that he needed to fundraise for the money.
Yes.
Now, he's not getting funding from the government, but he do a lot of fundraising. Yeah. He was a student. I think he went to Africa. And when he went to Africa, he heard that if you take pens, which is true because I've been there, and the children, they love pen because they are very hard to get, especially in rural area. Yeah. They are expensive. So this is like you are giving them a piece of gold when you give them. I've been there. And so he distributed these pens. And then he said, but there has to be more than just distributing this pen for children. And he started to visit the schools and noticed that the schools were in bad conditions. They were like 100 students in one classroom and so on. Yeah. So he started to build schools. And now I think he's kind of moving from fundraising to have a self-sustainable way, but I haven't read the latest things about it. But this is very similar. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Going back to your example about Anne and the school.
Yeah.
How does a school... What did they sell, or what's their business model for raising money to fund their activities?
Well, for them, it's a little bit more tricky again because they are expecting some funding from some international organizations.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But also some of the products that they are, because actually they are amazing. They are creating their own books to teach English.
Yes.
They actually doodle them, they design them, they test them with the children, and then these books are tools that they can actually sell to other schools and even to the government. So this is the way that they are starting to generate some more income. But in fact, at the moment, they are looking for a leadership coach to work with them because they want to expand on this also.
Okay. And when you said of professional volunteering, typically, would that be like a sort of commercial business that would lend them a member of staff for a bit? What's professional volunteering?
Well, that's a good idea to get the professional volunteer, but it's very open. But at the moment, how it is that normally volunteers are someone that wants to gain experience. A professional volunteer is someone that already have the experience. They must have 3 to 5 years of experience, so they know the subject. That's one of the big difference. Now, in this particular, why is this a social entrepreneurship model? Is because the person who comes, the coach that comes, pays to be there in India. Now, it sounds a bit funny that you volunteer and then you have to pay. And that's why it's called professional volunteering. For me, it's more like a professional placement.
Yes.
And for example, I have colleagues and people that want to shift from just coaching the private sector to actually be in the social sector or social entrepreneurship sector.
Yes.
So this is a great opportunity because instead of you trying to guess where to go, volunteer and having a mess, because when you go overseas, you really need to have guidance and have a good placement in order to get the most out of your experience. They go through the organization that Anna has created that is called A Skill Impact. She has done already the networking. She knows the partnership. The partnership has certain commitment. They sign a contract saying, we are going to provide this, we are going to allow this, we want this and that. So everything is very organized. So the person who goes, the coach in this case that goes, has the possibility to have a full experience really working and not worrying where is the office, where I'm going to sleep, how I'm going to manage without the language, and all the sort of things that normally take 3 to 6 months to get on with it.
And how long is the placement for?
So the placement can be from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. Ideally, they're looking for someone for 3 months.
Okay.
So because obviously it's more continuity, but they are very open to the possibility that you just go maybe for a month. Right, and then someone else will come.
Okay. And what does it cost, Cristina, approximately?
Yeah, so I think the prices are between something like £1,000 to £2,500, and the £2,500 or £800, it's actually for 3 months. Yeah, and that is it's not a lot if you consider when you pay for some weekend classes that you pay €3,000.
Oh no, indeed. So it's a double whammy to me. It's a paid holiday that does good and teaches you something if you're wanting to shift from purely commerce into social change. Yes,
exactly. Okay, yeah, you got it.
Good.
I've heard, Cristina and Judith, that a lot of companies are offering this as a perk now because they know that their staff will want to go and volunteer places and take, sabbaticals. So they actually offer to pay for these professional placements now.
Wow.
Yeah, this is great news. I was talking to Anna about this. Something, how can we get not funding, but how can we get someone to pay for that coach to come and so I might pass on this little news to her
because I know it was a promise. Particularly, it's very popular amongst the internet marketing successful people. I know Gary Vaynerchuk and Pat Flynn contribute, and I think if you contribute more than $20,000, you get to actually go and visit the school that you build.
Right. Yeah.
And Cristina, somebody who was a coach in an organisation could obviously persuade their organisation, as Nicola's saying, as a perk or a sabbatical. But an individual, it occurs to me, could crowdfund that, could run a Kickstarter campaign. It's not very much money on Kickstarter, and there would be a great result. I don't know what a reward would be for somebody funding it, just a warm feeling, I think. But it's something we might contribute to. It isn't something I'd want to do myself, but it's something I would be glad that somebody else did.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. And indeed, I have been there 3 times.
Yeah.
And, with this amount of money that you pay, you get accommodation, you get meals, you get some of the transport, your telephone, and all the technical support, and logistic support. Yes. So, and really for 3 months, £3,000 is not outrageous.
Tell us about the work. Tell us about the work. What did you learn by being there and doing it for 3 times?
Yeah, so I have particularly been working as a coach and a mentor. So I've been transferring the skill of coaching to social entrepreneurs. So when they work with their staff, they use coaching management approach instead of telling people what to do, because it doesn't work. In any culture, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what culture you are. So this has been my work. Like, now, the things that I have learned, many. So let's say 3 for the conversation. The first thing is that obviously, culturally, the values that are given to leadership are very different to the values that you will see in the West. So you have to keep this in consideration when you are working there. The rhythm, so there are 2 things here. I have worked also in Africa. So I have I think now 20 years of experience working overseas. So there is one part that the rhythm is slower, but it doesn't mean that you have to be slow. This is always the
yes.
It only means that when they are slow, you are just really focusing on something else.
Yeah.
And you are creating. I create tools, I create networks, I create clients, I do lots of things while people are getting slow.
Okay.
So, and I guess a third thing is, it's just really, for me particularly, and I know that there are many coaches who, I saw this podcast the other day about the difference between happiness and feeling, it's not fulfillment, the word, it will come to me. Happening and rewarding, to have something more rewarding in your work. It will come to me, the word. Yeah. And so for many times I thought, I want to be happy. But when I go to India or when I've been in Africa, what I feel is rewarded. I feel that I'm making a contribution and I feel rewarded with my work. I have a more meaningful job. I make the impact that I want to make. Yeah. And this is one of the biggest things. It's so untouchable. You just feel it. Yeah. It's in your body. Yes. And I think this is one of the biggest gifts when you do this experience. Even if you later on you decide this is not for me, it's a very rewarding experience.
Perfect. So, Cristina, what I would like you to do, excuse me, is PM me Anne's name and the name of her organisation so I can put it in the notes about the discussion we've had with you today.
Okay, I will do that.
Good.
Yeah, with pleasure.
Now, Nicola, anything else, or is that a wrap, do you think?
No, that's great. It was very interesting. It was very succinct, and there's some action steps that people can take afterwards. And they do say if you're unhappy, the one thing you should go and do is help other people. Russell Brand bangs on about this quite a lot now, and he says that is the secret of happiness, is helping other people and doing something meaningful. Yes. There you get your reward.
And interestingly, of course, Coach is very motivated by helping other people, but this is a sort of more grown-up, more serious, more world-changing way of doing that, isn't it?
And you know what? I hear this a bit of a challenging thought. Every time we think we're helping someone else, we really are helping ourselves.
Nice.
And this is something from I've been working in Africa, people saying, I want to help the poor people. And I say, why? You know why? Because especially when they're very young, so why? They are going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot from them. You will learn certainly. They are going to learn from you. You are going to learn from them. But why? And at the end of the day, the answer is because it makes you feel more rewarding. Like you feel they have a meaning. You're more meaning in your life, and that's okay.
Yes. Yes, it is. And in fact, without it, I don't think the whole equation works. Do you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Thank you so much for being our guest. It's very enlightening and thoroughly enjoyable and went much better than I could possibly have hoped. Thank you very much, Cristina.
Very nice. Very nice. So, word of the week then.
Mine is friendship, because going past Stonehenge, coming back from Leslie's and reflecting that I'd known her since our first term at boarding school, which was January 1966, and then getting home and spending Monday evening with Emma and discovering that her favourite birthday treats are the same as my favourite Christmas Day treats. It made me think that there are tiny filaments which bind you to your friends, both seen and unseen. So Emma has a great sense of humour, which I think I'd kind of forgotten. And I couldn't forget it about Leslie, because of course I've known her much longer, but she has a brainy humour. She's married to a zoologist, a professor at Oxford University, so their lives are academic and brainy. And we spent a lot of time wringing our hands because they save the elephants and things, and they have a house in Africa, and they're very concerned about wildlife and planet saving. And planet saving is coming up my list of things that I'm concerned about quite a lot. So when her German husband Fritz went off to make me coffee and I heard the sound of an espresso machine, I said, oh my God, they're so bad for the planet. And we had this sort of hand-wringing moment where both of us said we didn't know what we would do without our Nespresso machines, but we were terribly guilty about what they did to the planet. And then she told me about a scientist that she knew who is inventing, and nearly there, the 100% completely biodegradable pod. So we can have an espresso machine without any anxiety about it fairly soon. But anyway, the point of this story is friendship and the different things that draw you to people that you're not always cognizant of. You don't do it on the front of your brain. You do it with all parts of your body somehow.
Yeah, it's very true, actually. I had dinner with Kim, who is a friend of 40 years, and we still have such a strong bond, even, we've got our rows and everything, but we definitely, there's some strong bond and I recognised it the instant I met her. And, that's years ago, so that was interesting. And this week...
And it's interesting you talk about rows as well, because Leslie and I've had rows. We've had several periods of time that we haven't spoken to one another in that time, quite serious rows.
Yeah. But then you eventually get together again and you realise that...
it's great. Yes.
But then I've had other friends that I've thought were real big friends, and then when we've had rows, there hasn't been any reproachment. It's been like,
they've gone away. Yes. Yeah.
And then this week we made some new friends, and that was fairly instant too, instant reaction to people that's positive, which is nice. Mine is sleep, because I have had the best sleep ever since I got back to Greece. There's two things at play here. One is I think that it's so quiet, and after England it was so noisy. I mean, at night time it's so noisy in England, it's unreal, especially if you live near a main road or by a co-op docking station where the lorries beep, beep, beep to reverse up. But it's quiet and dark here. And the other thing is that Heather and Richard and I rigged up this mosquito net for her. And it's like a sort of pseudo four-poster bed with a big square mosquito net on it. And it's absolutely blissful to sleep in, because you know that no creatures can get to you in the night.
Yes.
And I think psychologically, my brain's just relaxed to the point where, I was waking up 4 or 5 times a night, where either because there was a mosquito in the room or because my brain thought there was a mosquito in the room. And and my brain now knows that there can't, even if there was, it can't get to me. So I think I've relaxed subconsciously to the point where I'm getting really good sleep.
And what did you try before you got to the net? You must have tried all of the gadgets and plugins and all and stuff.
I've ordered some recommended. There's things you can burn, and I don't like those because they make you feel very foggy in the morning. There's things you can plug in the way you put a tablet in, and it heats up and gives off this stuff. Don't like that. It makes me feel ill in the mornings. We've got fly screens, obviously, to keep the worst of the mozzies out, but they do tend to, the odd one can come in on your clothes or come in on your hair. One night I lay down and I was buzzing in my ear, so obviously it was in my hair. You can spray the room before you go out and shut the door. That works quite well. But, then you come back and everything's dead in the room. And then that means you have to sleep with the door shut, and I don't like doing that very much. So lots of different things, that the less chemical, the better. But, the whole mosquito net is the thing that seems to work the best psychologically for me.
I'm quite surprised it took you so long to get to it. That's my point, really.
Because, the other thing...
And in the end, you didn't do it for you. You did it for Heather.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you why. Because I didn't know... my landlady are quite resistant to making permanent changes in the house. And in order to hang up the square mosquito net I brought out last year, I needed to 8 pads to the ceiling. And the other thing I did survive with last year, and it does make a big difference, was having a fan going in the room. And it's not quite hot enough for that hit yet. So, but in the really hot months when the mozzies are bad, that having a fan in the room stops them being able to fly around. So that keeps them off completely. So that's why I was able to have a net last year. But it's too cool at the moment to have a fan going all the time. So for Heather, we had to do try and work out the mozzie net thing. But when we opened the mozzie nets, they didn't have the 8 sticky pads they should have had inside them. They only had 4 things that you screw into the ceiling. And I didn't want to do that because it would have meant having to take it down and make it good before I left. So that's when we went looking for an alternative. Did I tell you the solution we came across?
No.
Oh, okay. We went to Katerina's upstairs, which is the hardware part. And we walked around and we saw these extendable poles. God knows what people use them for. I think they might be for putting shower curtains on or something. And so we got 4 extendable poles, and we thought, how can we secure those to the ends of the metal bed frame? And we found plastic ties downstairs in Catawina's in the electrical department. And so we plastic tied the extendable poles to the bed frame, and then we draped the mosquito net off of that. Perfect.
Oh, marvellous.
But permanent enough, but temporary and very effective.
Yeah, marvellous.
Doesn't look all that with the plastic ties sticking out, but I could trim off the ends, I suppose.
And would you and Heather have worked that out by yourselves, or was Richard germane?
He was germane, because we were both getting far too hot upstairs in Catawina, and he pushed on. He said there must be something up here that we can use.
Yes,
so determination and diligence kept us going.
Yes, good lad. Okay.
Yeah. Project updates then?
No, still nothing from me. I'm not taking on any new ones at the moment, so I can't make news for this section.
No, it's good, but I find it highly amusing. I wait with bated breath for you to say it. Oh, God. Right,
I'm quite proud of it, to be honest.
Yes,
I'm quite proud of it. Yeah.
Hey, good for you. I'm quite proud that I haven't leapt into action on this potential business idea.
So have you got anything you want to tell us in this one?
Yes. Sarah's watching the videos for Amazon FBA. So that's a good one, because I'm not doing it. And I've got a JV call on Friday with someone who wants help with their marketing, can't afford to pay for it, but has got a nice business model. Who's, she might be up for a JV of some kind. And I'm trying.
So promo angel, like we discussed.
Yes, exactly. Yes. It's something that I wouldn't feel at all compelled to get involved on the delivery of, but I think I could do a good job on the marketing of. So,
nice.
Yeah, having a chat on Friday about that, see what happens.
Okay.
And then who or what's impressed?
Yeah, you go first. I've got a funny one that's quite long.
Nothing on this.
Oh.
Only because.
Can you think of anything?
Well, only because I've told you about all the things that have impressed me already, which is the book and stuff. So, no, I can't think of anything.
Okay, so I've got quite a long one. Don't make any assumptions before I finish it, okay? So in many respects, it's a mini rant, but not an angry one, a happy one. So on Saturday night, for the first time in about 30 years, I watched the Eurovision Song Contest. And hush my mouth, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, thanks mainly to Graham Norton. Thanks mainly to Graham Norton, who is very funny and very clever. And he has a Radio 2 show on Saturday mornings. I happened to be out in the car, and he was playing non-stop ABBA tracks in what I discovered he was calling Let's ABBA Party, because it was, I think 30 years since ABBA won with Waterloo or something like that. But there's nothing to put you in the Eurovision mood like ABBA. And so when I got home, I listened to the odd ABBA song on YouTube, and I thought, do you know what? I think I'm going to watch Eurovision Song Contest tonight. But what really impressed me, 3 things impressed me, actually. Our girl, there was a stage invasion. During her song, a protester invaded the stage and stole the microphone off her. And she wasn't fazed. She finished her song like a total pro, and we were in awe of her. Of course, she didn't win. She came 24th out of 26, but she did good. And I really liked the winning song. Not enough to listen to it ever again, you understand, but on the night, she was my winner. And it was a Me Too song. And the whole thing was quite controversial, because firstly she was from Israel, which, like Australia, isn't even in Europe, but Israel has a good track record of winning. I think this was the 4th time. Hers was this Me Too song, and she considered that she reflected diversity in as much as that she wasn't a skinny little thing. But I thought she was great. Mind you, she was wearing pink, and that never does any harm in my book. But so the winner impressed me, our girl impressed me, and Graham Norton is always fun. And when I was listening to him in the car in the morning, he is so fast with his humour. People were writing in and saying, this is how we celebrate Eurovision. And they had all of these strange things where they dress up in countries and they eat the food of the place. So it was Portugal on Saturday night, so people were eating Portuguese food. And then they do little competitions, or they draw sweepstakes. And if you are the winner, somebody said, if you are the winner, you get a Eurovision-themed prize. And Graham said, what, like obscurity, you mean? the whole thing is enjoyable on many levels. I don't think I'll do it again for another 30 years, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And Our Girl and the stage invasion, I mean, wow, to not be thrown off, but to stand there and clap along until they bring you another microphone and then finish the song. And they offered her the chance to do it again, and she stuck. She said, no, we've done our performance. You're psyched for your performance. You do it. We delivered it. I'm not doing it again. And it was great.
Can I just check one fact there? You threw into the mix that Israel and Australia are included in the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yes, Australia is in the Eurovision Song Contest. Apparently, well, because every country in the world watches it, except this year China. Because in China, it's illegal to be tattooed and it's illegal to be gay. And there's a lot of gayness about the Eurovision Song Contest and a lot of tattoos about it. So the Chinese said, could the Eurovision people sort of blur out gay people and tattoos? And the Eurovision people said, no. And what's more, you can't watch our programme because you don't like these things. But yes, 3 years ago or a few years ago, Australia, who's a big consumer of the Eurovision Song Contest, was invited to participate in it. I can't actually remember why. Again, I think some kind of anniversary. And it all went so well that they've been allowed to continue in it. And as have an awful lot of other countries that are not in Europe, but Australia is the furthest one away.
It's the most surreal conversation I've ever had, I think.
It is surreal. It's surreal. And funny enough, you should use the word surreal, because when you watch those programs that you and I both like, you like The Voice and you like X Factor, and I like Strictly and Britain's Got Talent. When they put the microphone under the nose of the person and say, how does it feel? They go, it feels surreal. And I know those people don't know what that word means, and it's not a word they use in normal life, but surreal is a word that goes with television programs like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sportsmen say it was surreal, but they never use that word in any other context.
Yeah. Well, a bit of good news. While we've been talking in the last few minutes, a notification has popped up on my screen that Glenn Warner of the couple that live on a narrowboat called Living Life with More Meaning, or Life with More Meaning.
A Life of Meaning, yeah.
A Life of Meaning. It's popped up that he's just put video 2 up on volunteering. So we must go.
Yes, and I knew that because I speak to his wife quite a lot, and she said she had to edit it. But I said to her, I slightly apologised, and I said, I'm sorry that you and Glenn appear on every single podcast that we do. And she said, oh, no, we love it. And yesterday I was chatting to her about something, and Glenn came onto the boat. And Glenn and I have never, ever spoken. He doesn't know me. I don't know him. I've watched his video. He said in the background, hello, Judith, just like he knew me, because he's listened to us talking about the two of them every week for months now.
Well, Glenn, you just slipped into this podcast by the skin of your chinny chin chin. And just because I've got notifications set up to tell me when your videos, not quite often enough for my liking yet, but video 2 here. No. Good stuff. All right, that's done.
Okay, see you soon.
See you next week. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
How do they do it? Not a care and suffering. Wanna step into their world.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitpodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.